Let's wait for a couple of people to join and then we start. Let's hear. All right, we are live, guys. Let's wait for a couple of people to start joining, and that's when we start.
Cool.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Pratibha Kirtana, for joining us. Thanks, everyone. Tonight, I see a lot of interest in early action round. I'm Paridhi, co-founder of MBA and Beyond, and we have Kirtana and Pratibha tonight with us. I'm going to just introduce them in a bit. Tonight, we are going to be talking about myths about early action round. What should you consider while applying to early action rounds? What schools like Columbia and Fuqua look for in early action rounds? How should you strengthen your application for early action rounds? Which all schools can you consider applying for early action? And when should you really start working on your applications for early action? To address all these questions and any of more questions that you may have, we've got Kirtana and Pratibha with us tonight. Kirtana is an IIT Kharagpur graduate with over 6 years of experience in marketing and product at various Indian startups. During her application process, Kirtana received multiple admits from top schools such as Michigan Ross, Virginia Darden, and Duke Fuqua. She's an incoming full-time MBA student to the Duke Fuqua School of Business with 50% of scholarship and was adjusted a Forte Fellow. Um, Thank you, Kirtana, for joining us today, and
My pleasure.
we're really looking forward to some interesting insights from you tonight. We also have Pratibha with us. Pratibha is an IIT ISM Dhanbad graduate with 4 years of experience in oil and gas industry. During her application process, Pratibha received multiple admits from top schools such as Duke Fuqua, Yale SOM, and Columbia Business School. She's an incoming full-time MBA student to Columbia Business School with 45K US dollars scholarship in her kitty. Welcome, Pratibha, and thanks for joining us tonight. We're really looking forward to the insights from you.
Thanks, Paridhi. Happy to be here.
All right. Okay, so the stage is yours, Kirtana and Pratibha. Here we go.
Hey everyone. Firstly, thank you so much for taking out your time and coming to our session. I'm really looking forward to share whatever the entire process that we've gone through and whatever little knowledge that we acquired over the past 1 year. Uh, I understand, when it comes to early action, there are a lot of even at the time of me applying, there were a lot of questions in my mind. Is this the right round for me to apply? Why should I even consider applying to early action, right? So there are multiple pros when it comes to early action. So one thing is you will receive your admit as early as October. So you typically have more than 8 to 9 months in hand by the time you actually matriculate to your business school. So more time, there's always less stress. You're out of the competition, you're out of the entire stress that is typically associated with application. So that, for me personally, that was one of the most major pro and the most deciding factor to apply in early action. The second thing is, of course, after you're done, after you get your admit, there is a lot other things that you can do, which would help you prepare for your MBA journey. It could be a pre-internships, pre-MBA internships. It could be a couple of courses which you wanted to do, or it could even be a couple of hobbies that you want to pursue. Right, so you have a lot more time to go out and explore, learn more about yourself. And early action and an admit in early action definitely provides time for that. And another factor, and one of the major thing is most of the schools offer open interview invite. On the top of my mind, I can think Darden, I can think of Fuqua. There are also a couple of other schools which definitely offer an open interview invite. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're shortlisted for an interview. You can give your shot, right? And of course, by the time of October, you know who are your batchmates, and you have a lot more time to network with them. You get to know more about them. You can exchange ideas, learnings. It just becomes a lot more easy. You have a lot more time to do all of that. So yeah, I think Pratibha, do you have anything to add over here?
No, I think Kirtana very good job on covering all of the points very thoroughly, and I think my learnings are really they really vibe with what you said. I also benefited a lot from getting in through an early action round, because I realized that I did all of the processes that follow very comfortably. So I think yes, kudos to you for that. And then I can probably yes, I'll talk about the myths, because as advantageous as the early round is, there are a lot of misconceptions that hover in people's minds, and they did in mine as well when I was appearing for my application process. So one of the most frequent things that I hear is that early actions, because in some of the schools they ask for a deposit upfront before you get a round one result, and then they ask you to lock in your seat, and they refrain you refrain you from applying to other schools as well. So because you are committing 100% to the school, applicants tend to think that you would not be awarded any scholarship, or your scholarship would be lower than what students of round one admit would get. So let me just burst this bubble and say no to this, because I have seen many people from early action getting through Columbia, who will be going together with me, getting a scholarship which is not at all lesser than what round one applicants have gotten. So no or low scholarship is definitely a myth. You would have an equal and fair chance, provided you meet all of those merit criteria or need criteria, if the school offers that. And the second myth that the applicants have is on the other side. First myth that I talked about tends to hover in people's mind who are sort of underconfident, and then there are people who tend to think that just because it is an early action round and you are showing your commitment towards the school, that means that even if you are lagging in one or two aspects of your application, you would have a chance to get admitted. You would have higher chances of it's not true. It's not true, guys. Just bursting this bubble as well. Your quality of application matters as much as it matters in round one and round two, or any other round for that matter. It is just that you get some cookie points for showing your commitment towards this school, because you are promising them in most of the scenarios that if you do get an admit from this school, you will be joining it 100%. So you get that brownie point, and you might think that maybe missing just a sentence in your interview might not cost you as much as that it would do in round one, because there is a lot of competition. But then it does not give you a guarantee of higher chances of admit, even with a subpar application, so to speak. So every component of the application is very important, no matter what the round is. But yes, your commitment towards the school definitely helps you in early action.
Thank you. I think Pratibha has done a really wonderful job about laying out what are the different myths associated with early action round. Building upon what Pratibha has shared, so why are you even applying for early action round? I mean, honestly speaking, because more often than not, early action round comes with a binding process. So when it comes binding, it means that you are showing your utmost commitment to school. And how do you do that? How do you build up that commitment? How do you build up that rapport with the school? So one of the best ways is definitely reaching out to current students, understanding what's happening at the school, why that school, because you at the end of the day are the ones who are saying I want this school. So you have to tell the school why you want it, and to know why, you have to go out and meet people. So reaching out to the current students, understanding, reaching out to the various clubs, alums, webinars, helps you understand why you want to apply to school. Once you understand, once you see yourself being a part of the school, you'll have to associate with the values of the school. Every school is unique in its own way. They look out for certain set of values in their applicants, and they want to build a cohort which is well rounded and signifies what they stand for. And in order to do that, you have to show, along with commitment, what are the values that you resonate with the school. So these two becomes a really important aspect, and these two parameters will be the ones where the EA admits are more often than not judged upon, because you are throwing out and coming forward and saying I want you. So yeah, that's I think these two are really important when it comes to early action rounds, and definitely what school looks for.
Yes, and just tagging along what Kirtana just said. So, how do you ensure that you are at your best when you're applying for an early action round? So, one thing that tops, I think, many of the other aspects is your research about the school. So, this is my personal experience from all the schools that I have, appeared for in the interview. Be it Duke Fuqua, be it Columbia Business School, they are really keen to know how much do you know them. It should not be, your research should not not be limited to the school ranking or just their employment report. It should it should comprise of the culture of the school. How do you find your values resonating with the value that the school seeks for, or the values that the school represents for that matter? So if you see yourself to be a good candidate who is fitting into those values, and you really like the school culture, that is something that you would inevitably highlight in your interview and in your application, and that matters a lot. So researching very well about a school and conveying your learnings in an interview, make sure that your learnings about the school, the specifics about the schools, are coming up in your interviews and in your application essays. So doing that really shows your commitment. Just merely applying to an early action round and thinking that it is just evident that I am committed towards this school is not enough. You have to show that commitment by doing some things, and that is research. Another very important aspect is the clear and practical goals. So goals, I cannot stress this enough. Goals, both long and short term goals, both are really really important, no matter what your round of application is and which school are you applying to. Every school wants to know how have you thought on your goals. It should not be, your motivation should not be just to earn more money, or just to climb up in your career. It should be related to something meaningful, and that is something that you can do if you do your research well. And that's again, the research about the school and the research about yourself comes into place. So having a clear and practical short and long term goals really matters, and that matters even more for early action because you are applying early, so you generally have lesser time as compared to the round one deadlines. So just make sure that you have built a very solid storyline around your goals. You have good backgrounds to back that goal up. And another very important factor is your readiness in terms of your test scores. So deciding which kind of assessment suits you, is it GMAT or GRE or EA, and getting ready with a satisfactory score, getting ready with the score that you feel that is final for you, is really important, because you would be juggling with a lot of things when you are applying to early action, and then you will have lesser time. So being ready and having had done one of those things is really helpful. And then I think these are the 3 points. If you have them right, then I think you are ready to apply for early action.
Sure. Building on what Pratibha has mentioned, so GMAT, GRE, whatever competitive exam that you pick up, if you feel that probably putting another month or two extra will give you a better score, please go all out and do that. You don't have to rush yourself and then, cutting down your preparation time by 50, 70% and then getting an average score. It's not so great. Getting a better score is always the best compared to what you could do with an average score. Yeah. So having said that, yeah, there are a lot of schools which are offering early action, early decision round. Every school has their own set of guidelines. Every school follows their own set of I would say interview patterns. I could talk a little bit about Duke, Fuqua, and Darden, and probably Pratibha can give us more insights on CVS. So the way Fuqua works around early action, I'll be very honest with you. Fuqua really stresses on commitment and values. All of the various schools I've applied, at least I found that these Fuqua was the one which was, at least personally, was the one that stressed a lot about it. Their entire essay was around, what can you do to Fuqua, and there's a lot of team Fuqua bonding and community around at the school, which is something that should resonate in your essays, right? And in interview, there's one question that is definitely going to come up: why Team Fuqua? What are you going to do for Team Fuqua? These two are questions that will definitely come up. So for Fuqua, at least from what I could recollect from last year, was that the application roughly portal opened up at the July 1st week. I strongly urge you all, if you are looking forward to applying for early action round, please go ahead and book your interview slot by second, third week, because the slots gonna get booked, and then it's again interview by invite. So earlier the better, if you can book your interview slot. And the open interview for Fuqua is also applicable for round one and round two. So even if you're unable to submit your application for early action round, it's okay. Your interview is still valid. You can still give it for your round one and round two if you submit by then. Having said that, for Fuqua, from what I could recollect, from my personal experience, roughly around 25 to 30% of the admits are taken from early action round. And I specifically from my interaction with all these admits, I've realized these people's first choice was definitely Fuqua. The way that they conveyed was that they have reached out to a lot of students, they've reached out to adcoms, all of them knew adcoms by names. And the essays were completely revolving around how personally they see themselves being a part of Team Fuqua. For Team Fuqua, it's all about decency quotient, and community reward. So if you're able to convey these two values in your essays, I think nothing better than that. Um, and yeah, I think by October 1st and second week, you would be hearing back about your admit. And then, if you've made it, nothing like that, you have a lot of time to go out and, relax. So that's a little bit on Fuqua. I think over to Pratibha for CBS.
Sure. This just refreshed my memory of putting in all of those essays and, name calling the alumni and people that we have interacted with.
Yeah.
And that did pay off. And,
Yeah.
and it's not just, preparing for the sake of it. If you really believe in those values, then it really shows up. I remember my interview for Fuqua, then I think, asked 2 or 3 times along the same lines: what does Team Fuqua mean to you? Why do you Fuqua, and why do you think that the school is different from the other schools? So you have to have that clear sense, so that you can give 3 different answers for these 3 questions. Otherwise, if you have just 1 or 2 jargon words from the website, it might not help you there. So being very crude about it here. And CBS is a little different in terms of the timeline, in terms of the results, what they announce. And other than that, the application, first I would like to talk about the application as well as the interview. So for Columbia, your application is the same as for any other round, which is the case for any other school. And after that, you are invited to an interview. There is no option for an open interview. And more often than not, people are interviewed by an alumni. And they can be from your own country, they can be from your own industry, or they can be completely poles apart from you, and you would just have to make your connection with the interviewer. And once you are allotted your interviewer, then you'll have to have a 25 to 30 minute chat. MBA interviews are really conversational from what I have experienced, and it was a pleasant experience for me. And afterwards, a very good thing about CBS is that it has a rolling admission process. So you can apply as early as June and July when the applications open, and within 3 to 4 weeks, you would be hearing back from them whether or not you have been selected for an interview. And then once you coordinate with your interviewer and have your interview date sorted, and after your interviewer submits their feedback for you, then it does not take a lot of time for you to hear back the results. So the timeline for me was, I think, about a month and a half from submitting my application to getting an admit. So that even gives you a lot of window to if you are ready by July, say, and you have an admit in August, then you can just go ahead, chill, enjoy whatever, do whatever, pursue your hobbies, maybe do an internship. So in that regard, CBS is a little different from Fuqua or Darden, which have a clear deadline by which they announce the results. And yeah, any questions, any specific questions, if you guys have, you can please put them in chat, and then I'll be happy to address it. And regarding what CBS looks for, along with the values and the commitment towards the school, and one thing that is probably the USP of CBS is it being in New York City. So they really want to know why do you tie yourself and your goals with New York City, and how is that going to help you. So if you are clear on that aspect, it really helps. Kirtana, you can go ahead.
Sure. I think before we move on to the next slide, maybe I would also like to give some understanding on Darden as well. So Darden, like Fuqua, I think personally I feel Darden and CBS were the earliest applications, which start off in June. Rest all schools start by July end. So Darden opens up in June, and Darden also follows a similar pattern of Fuqua. You gotta go and book for your open interview slot. And the most interesting aspect about Darden is, the blind interviews. You have no idea. The interviewer has no idea who you are. they're seeing you the first time on the webcam. They don't even know your name. They have no idea whatsoever about you. So the entire interview experience of Darden is going to be really, for me, I really liked it, because you got to explain your story. Everything is in your court. So whatever you show, they know about it. So it's totally up to you. How do you want to present your story? How do you want to go about navigating the different aspects of your application? What is it that you want to highlight, etc., right? And interview, it was, again, all, I feel all MBA interviews are very conversational. It's a great platform to talk about yourself, and to gain more insights about what are the different things that you want to do. So yeah, I think Darden, I think again by October 3rd week you'd hear back from Darden, and then it's chill. So that's pretty much it on Darden. All right.
Yeah. Uh, all right, I'll start, and Kirtana, maybe you can just tag along.
So yeah.
The question: when should you start working on your EA application? So this is a question for which different people can have a different answer depending upon your readiness. So as a general standard rule, we would say that give yourself at least 45 days for the application, because we understand that since it is an early action application, then it will most likely be your first application, unless you are a candidate who has applied earlier in the last academic year. So if you are applying for the first time and this is your first application, then giving yourself 45 days for the application really helps you in getting your goals sorted out, getting your stories aligned, and just making all the elements that are required in that application ready. And just highlighting one more factor is, beyond the essays, beyond the application essays, the entire application form that you have to fill in is also a really long thing, and it takes a lot from you, especially when it is your first application. So just knowing that from 45 days ahead of your application can really help you. You can start your application, you can save the different components, and be prepared for every element that you have to put in. So getting your resume, getting your goals, getting your other essays, and the application elements sorted should take at least about 45 days. So give yourself that time window. And as Kirtana mentioned, if you are satisfied with your GMAT, GRE, or executive assessment score, please go ahead and make sure that if you want to apply to early action applications, then you should have a satisfactory score, and do not keep that apprehension that I would do not keep that myth, rather, that I would get in with a subpar GMAT score just because it is an early action. So please keep that ready. Polished goals, as I already explained, very important. Give a clear picture about your plans, and ultimately your employability, which is a very important factor for your admission. So, and yes, it is a very, very important thing that you apply only and only when you are ready. Please do not hurry yourself up just because it is an early action. You want to show your commitment, but you are going with a half-baked application. If you do that, then sadly there are chances that you would get rejected even if it is an early action. So if you think that you need another month to get your application ready, please by all means go ahead and do that and apply in round one. But if you feel like you are ready by the time that application starts, and you have about a month or two to prepare your application, by all means go ahead and apply to early action. Kirtana, anything that you want to add?
I think Pratibha, you've covered all the aspects. Maybe just one point which I want to add was that, say, I'm sure a lot of people must be under the conundrum. Should I choose EA or round one? I'm up for promotion in October or November. If there are certain parts of your application or certain parts of your professional or personal life which you feel will enhance your entire overall package, and that's coming later after early action round, then please by all means wait, because you want to present the best of yourself. You don't have to compromise and then apply for EA just because you feel that there's higher chances. Only apply when you know that you're putting forward the best version of yourself, and I would say the strongest version of yourself. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, girls, for all those insights. And guys, you know what to do. And I am assuming you guys have a lot of questions. I can see a lot of them in the chat box. We'll be tackling them shortly. Pratibha and Kirtana, maybe you can take a quick, like, 5 minutes break. I'll walk everyone through the process, and then we'll have them back again. Then we'll address all the questions that you have, guys. All right. So now, what's the process of applying to these top programs? And especially, we are the advocates of early action round, guys. So we want to push the world to apply to early action, because the chances are always higher in an early action round if you're really have that kind of clarity. You've taken your GMAT, GRE, or you're also like taking or reappearing. Right now is the time for applicants who are targeting 5 or more schools, are already working on these schools at the moment. They are already like sorted with what their overall story or their narrative is going to be. They've already introspected, because you only have 4 months to your deadline. And as Kirtana and Pratibha just mentioned, that you do need 45 days for your first application at least. And of course, any subsequent application may require you to have good 20 to 25 days devoted to your application. So if you average that out, right now is the time that you should be working on your application without delay, if you really want to bring out the best version of yourself, like Kirtana mentioned. And before I walk you through our process, I want to let you know that we're doing a little something for applicants who are targeting early action. We are providing you with free interview service. One applicant of all those who applies, we're going to select by 30th of April, and we're going to announce the winner, who we are going to help you with free interview, because you are going to go for that interview for sure. Like Kirtana and Pratibha just talked about, already book your slots, and we're going to prepare you for your interview free of cost. For all those who signed up for this session, we are going to send you an email to get on a profile evaluation call with us. And then eventually we're going to evaluate until 29th of April and announce the winner on 30th of April. Basis the strengths on your profile, our experts are going to huddle. This is worth $500 preparation interview for one school. And of course, if you guys want to apply to some more schools with us, we can have that discussion around that as well. Process that even Kirtana and Pratibha went through was broken down into three sets, like three broad phases. The first phase was content gathering phase, and this is the most essential set to lay down the foundation by introspecting and knowing what your narrative is going to look like. Throughout this journey, you're going to be working with two very important people. One is going to be a psychology specialist or therapy practitioner, so to say, who's going to make sure that you bring out the most unique version of yourself on the table. And the best business version of yourself is ensured by your consultant. Your consultant is going to be an alumni or a current candidate or a current student or incoming student of a top business school like Columbia, Darden, Fuqua. You could even work with Kirtana and Pratibha. They are our star consultants who have more than 90% of success rate with the applicants they are working with. And during their time when they applied, they got through multiple schools, multiple admits, and scholarships across multiple schools. So you see the kind of knowledge and the process that they bring to the table is quite amazing. You're going to be working with the likes of consultants like these, and you get unlimited hours with them. So that's why the earlier you start, the better it is for you, because you get more time to huddle, more time to polish, more time to iterate your essays, your LORs. The better your version is going to come off in front of the admissions committee. Some schools, like Pratibha already mentioned, Columbia, the earlier you submit your application, the better it is, because they have a rolling admission. So make sure that for rolling admissions, you are putting in your application as early as possible. All right, now moving on to the back to the process again, content gathering phase. It's going to be split into three sets. Set one is going to revolve around very high level questions around core and fundamentals of any business school, no matter what business school you're applying to. So if you're confused right now, you don't know what these top 5 or top 7 schools are going to be, where you're going to apply, it's all right. You just go into the content gathering phase. We just want you to know the number of schools you want to go for. We don't want you to know the specific schools that you should go for. We want to help you pick those schools based on your strengths, on your stories, on your weaknesses, so we know which values do you match the most. So Kirtana in a couple, I think she talked about how important it is for you to match the value of business school. And some of our characteristics may stand tall with Columbia versus Duke. So it makes more sense for you to apply to Columbia, because then you have more examples to support the values that they hold strong to their core. So, content gathering phase, set one, it's all about what are the values, what are your strengths and weaknesses, following different frameworks. You're going to be reading a lot of sample essays of similar profile like yours. You'll get an understanding what your narrative broadly is going to look like. It's going to lie across as pieces of puzzle, but when we put together later, they'll make a big picture put together in the form of essays and your recommendation. This is set one. Content gathering phase, set two. This was your brain dump, your journey from your perspective, one dimension. Now we want to also understand you from other people's perspective. So if you want to do justice to your application to make it self-bias free, we have to make sure that we understand you holistically as your facilitator. Why do we need to do that? So we spend time with admissions directors of top 10 business schools every year. And one of the biggest things that we've noticed across business schools is that they have a knack of identifying self biases in your application. Now, what self biases? You will realize when you're talking about your strengths, weaknesses, achievements, and failures, you have a lot of examples to support your strengths. But for your weaknesses and for your failures, you sort of try to defend yourself. You don't try to portray your examples as is. And that's only natural because we're Homo sapiens and we try to defend ourselves. However, business schools are looking for fairly more neutral individuals than average human being. And we've over the years we've noticed that applications which are self-bias free, they have a higher chance to convert business schools. So here we're going to understand you holistically, and for that we feel your friends and family play a critical role. So we're going to ask you to choose three really important people in your life, one personal, one professional connection, and the third one could be either of them. And we send them a really candid questionnaire, collect some information on your personality from their perspective. Now, some applicants are clever and, might I say, smart enough. They already ask their recommenders to be a part of this journey for them. So they kind of already know what the recommender is going to be talking about, what they're going to be vouching for. So you can put the elements of your application in a way so that it makes your case stronger. Always remember that your recommendation has to be a complementary piece of evidence to your essay and your resume. It can never be a repetition or a duplication. So it has to be done very strategically, and it's important for us to also know what your recommender is going to be talking about in their recommendation for you. All right, this was set two. Then we move on to set three, which is also the last set of content gathering phase. This is where the magic actually happens. Most of you are going to be belonging to a very overrepresented pool, like Indian male engineers, oil and gas, like Pratibha is from that sector. That's a very overrepresented sector at business schools. So you need to make sure that you bring out yourself as uniquely as possible. And the best way to do that is via your personality. Business schools are looking for 100% personality in your application. Some schools you will notice, like in Columbia Fuqua, they have very personality driven questions, like Fuqua's as one of the essay questions, which I absolutely love, is 25 random things about you. How hard you try to be random there, but you don't have to be. You have to draw some patterns, you have to connect the dots, you have to showcase your personality through that application and make sure it matches the values of that business school. So here in this phase, we are going to put you through a personality test. And based on the results of the test, we are going to define the traits that become the backbone of your application. And everything else that you've done in your life is going to hang around it as a supporting piece of evidence. Once all of this is done, your consultant comes in. Let's say you're working with Kirtan or Pratibha. They're going to go through all the content that you've dumped, go into a brainstorming session with you, and they are going to provide you with a one-pager branding document. This is your overall narrative. This is your holy grail. It has your high-level storyline, your theme, your strategy, and your direction. Once you have this ready in your hand, this lays the foundation of all your applications. You pick up your essays one by one. Your consultant gives you full direction, all the iterations that's needed for business school. Guys, just give me a second. I'm sorry, there's somebody on the door. Just allow me a minute. All right. I'm so sorry for that. Yeah. So once all of this is ready, we are going to give you this branding document, and then you start working on your essays. Then you work on your letters of recommendation. We are going to help you with the broad pointers that are essential for your recommenders to be talking about in their recommendation. Once all of this is done, then we help you with your resume. We've got a proper session for you on that. Eventually, we're also going to help you with your video interviews. And finally, if you make it to the final round, then we're going to be doing a lot of mock sessions with you until you're confident enough to tackle your interview in the direction that you want to take it in. So that's the full process. Again, I would like to repeat, if you're interested, book a profile evaluation call with us. We are offering 1% free interview preparation. Whoever, of course, is the winner, we're going to be announcing end of this month, and you will already know. If you're interested, you can anyways have your discussion on your profile evaluation call with us. It is going to be me, Archana, or Nishkarsh, three of us. We actually evaluate the profiles much deeply and go into a 45-minute discussion with you to understand where you stand for the business schools that you're targeting. All right, I'd like to invite Kirtana and Pratibha back on the stage, and let's tackle questions one by one. All right, there. Maybe Kirtana, Pratibha, you guys want to take this one up? Yeah.
Sure. So the question is that apart from talking to current students, can you suggest a few more sources to do a secondary research about the schools? So the school websites are really underrated. I feel people just skim through them and think that they have known all about them. But if you really dig deeper and if you go through all the clubs and activities, then you would really get an insight for the different things that the school has to offer. For example, for Duke Fuqua itself, when I was searching about the school, I just got another redirect to a completely different website, which showed a lot about the clubs than the main website did. So that was really helpful. And there are admission events. So admission events are maybe 1 hour, 2 hour long sessions which the school conducts. They are completely virtual and they're completely free of cost. You can just register yourself for that, and they are typically Zoom calls. You just go in there, drop in the specific questions that you have, and the adcom is really happy to help you out over there. So you can just keep a pen and paper ready and keep on noting down all of those points that you get from all the events. So those two are the resources which I can really think about right now. Kirtana, if you want to add anything else.
Sure. Apart from that, you could also, every school has their own set of blogs, and these blogs are typically written by students, and they have a lot of, I would say, informal information, which is something you may not find readily handy anywhere. So blogs are definitely, and podcasts too, a great source of information. Over and about that, there are a lot of diversity weekends, 40 forums, LGBTQ pride weekends that are conducted by schools and also by other platforms like I could say MLT or even 40 that I just mentioned. You could sign up for one of these, and then you could definitely get in connect with not just current students but also alumni and also similar applicants like you who are applying. So it's a great platform for you to exchange information as well. uh, the other source which I found was definitely LinkedIn. I think I've reached out to a lot of people, not just current students, but of course the alumni as well, because and I found, at least for me personally, goals wise, I found LinkedIn was one of the best way to reach out to the people who are currently in the same domain which I'm aspiring towards. And so that gave me a lot of information. So, and also there are a lot of small group coffee chats which are conducted by schools. These are more often than not 10, maybe 5 to 10 persons in a group chat, and that's a great avenue. 1 hour unlimited screen time with the adcom, or with a student, or it could even be an alumni. So that's another source for you to gather more information about the college. Yeah.
Okay, there's another one. Yeah, go for
No,
it, Kirtana.
no, capital N and capital O with the full stop. No, they don't. They don't. So I understand that there's a lot of misconception. Probably GMAT candidates are favored over GRE, considering GRE just came into limelight in the last 3-4 years. Having said that, I feel personally all the competitive scores are just one of the parameters for the school or the adcom to analyze, are you academically fit for the school. And if a GRE conveys that, please go ahead and take GRE. If GMAT conveys that, pick an exam where you're most comfortable with. That's pretty much it.
True.
Pratibha, if
I
there's
think,
anything, yeah.
yeah. All the three
Yeah.
that we had mentioned, and you're asking about GMAT versus GRE. Both of them, if you have a decent score, that shows that you have what it takes to take the rigor of the MBA school. So that is all that matters for them. That is an evaluation criteria, and they. If you attend the admissions event, this question comes up a lot, and they explicitly mention that we do not differentiate people on the basis of GMAT versus GRE. So as long as you have a decent score, I think you are good to go. And yeah, was there another follow up with
Yeah.
this? Yeah, there was this. Yeah, what type of questions can be asked to alumni which will give more insights about the school? All right. So I will tell you how I went about this. So I am a very awkward person when it comes to talking to people for the first time. So I generally, initially I used to prepare the list of questions and then, get on call with them and ask them just so it does not get very awkward. So you can to just break the ice and get them talking, you can just ask them about their experience, how did they like it. And believe me guys, they love to talk about the school because it is such an interesting experience, to say the least, that they really want to share their stories with you as a prospective applicant and as a prospective student for that matter. So generally either they would share their stories from which you can pick and choose the elements that you want to delve deeper into, or if you have very specific questions like how did you feel about the recruitment at consulting, or suppose the person is working in Amazon as a product manager, you can ask them how was your experience with recruiting for Amazon, because I want to go to Amazon as a product manager. What do I need to showcase in my application for that, to show my preparedness. So you can ask these questions. And one question that I would say that you should not probably ask to an alumni who has spent a lot of years in the industry, in the professional space after they have passed out, is I have X, Y, and Z attributes. What are my chances of getting into the school? So they are generally more interested in answering the question about the school, the culture, and the experience, rather than evaluating your profile. MBA and Beyond is here to do that. Please do not take that up with the alumni. So yeah, just my 2 cents, Kirtana.
Yeah, I think Pratibha summarizes really, really well. Pretty much nothing to add, except for me, I approached this in a very functional way. I characterized all the people I wanted to reach out into three different buckets. One is professional, one is geographical, another is personal front. When I say personal, it's like are they into the same kind of clubs I'm looking at? Do they have the same kind of are they into the different kinds of like I personally like I'm into a little bit of running, etc. So are these kind of people into that? On the professional end, are these people in the tech industry? So for me, I bucketed them into three different ways, and then I approached them with specific questions. Say if I'm approaching an alumni from in Indian alumni of a school, my go-to target was like as an Indian, how was your experience at the school, and specifically after graduating, how do you think especially as an international and Indian student, the entire MBA experience helped you in terms of achieving your goals, right? Just throwing it out there, just an example. But maybe if you think having a more functional approach works for you, then you could also do that. It's totally up to you. But as Pratibha said, be very specific in what you want to ask, and do not ask questions like what are my chances and what are my odds, do you think I'll make it.
All right. Okay, there's more. Can we opt out after accepting the admit through EA? Interesting.
uh, um, you can, but ethically you can't, because as uh, it's a binding round early action. I think Darden has a non-binding early action round. If you're not really sure you want to commit to Darden, then you can pick a non-binding option. But EA rounds technically come with a binding, and it by submitting your application, you're telling to school, you are my first preference. I'm not going to go anywhere if you give me an admit. But having said that, of course you can do it, and some people do that, but ethically it's not really that great to do it. That's all I can add about it.
Yes, I don't think I can say more about this. It's really the perfect answer, Kirtana.
Yeah. There's one more. My GPA is about 2.0. Okay, that's low. And I still haven't given my GMAT. I'm trying to think how would I be able to prep for that within a couple of months, to say the least, at least to be considered for EA rounds. So yeah, girls, any one of you.
Yeah, I think Paridhi is a better person to address this. But yeah, even then, I would just try to take a shot at it. So it really depends. So you are saying that you have not taken the GMAT yet, but where are you in the process of preparing for it? If you think that you are ready to take it next week or next month, for that matter, by all means, go ahead and do that, and you would definitely be considered for EA round. And try and get this done at least, as we mentioned, 45 days before you think that you should apply for the EA. And once you have that sorted, there are a couple of different ways to address the low GPA. It can be through a solid GMAT score, so you see how you are playing your odds with your GMAT and your GPA, because GPA generally shows how sincere you were in your undergrad. And all the more reason to have a solid GMAT score if your GPA is low. So your GMAT can be a good substitute. It's not really a substitute, but yes, just putting it like that, it can be a good substitute to show that you are not really academically poor, or you are not the person who cannot take the rigor of the MBA program. Rather, it can be XYZ reason because of which your GPA was low. And you should not let the school assume that there is a section to put in an optional essay whenever you apply for any school, for that matter. And there you are asked to highlight any circumstances like low GPA, gaps in your professional experience. So that is the perfect platform for you. Choose maybe write a story around it, and tell your genuine reason because of which you have that low GPA, which might deter your chances. So I think doing those two things would probably help you a lot. Paridhi, Kirtana, anything to add?
Yeah, no, you summed it up really well, and that's precisely, guys. Whenever, not any, no one profile is without red flags. I really want to say it out loud. We all have our flaws. It's just about diverting the attention of the adcoms towards the strengths of your profile, and that's why they have optional essays. So please make use of optional essays. These are precisely the reason why they give you an option to talk about extra things in your story to cover up for any red flags. And yes, to your question, a lot of applicants tackle GMAT preparation and their application alongside together. If they're late, like if you know that you just started your GMAT preparation, so you could be tackling both the things alongside, because GMAT itself is going to take you good 2 to 3 months, maybe a little longer if you are just starting out. And application itself, as the both Kirtana and Pratibha have mentioned, you do need to have a good window of time, because not one is more important than the other. They are equally important. And to be honest, if I had to give more weightage, like if I had to weigh things, then your application altogether, like your essays, LORs, have more weightage than GMAT. So make sure that you're investing sufficient amount of time on both, and not one over the other. So yeah.
I guess maybe I could add a little bit on that. I'm a live example of the question. My GMAT, my GPA is super low compared to at least Indian standards. So I had to thoroughly utilize the optional information essay to give reasons why it is low. I was involved in various other activities which have led to that. But at the same time, it's not really great to defend that, it's a good score when you know for a fact that it's not. And then my GMAT, at least at the time of me starting my application, was sub 700. So whoever was asking that question, you still have time if you're aiming for early action round. I gave my final GMAT attempt in July, so it's just still a couple of months away. So there is time, you could still pull it off.
All right. Thanks, Kitana. There's one more question. Are the older applicants 10 plus years for full-time MBA in the US at a disadvantage? How does EA or ED help in that case? So, I mean, I could start and then maybe you girls can add. We get asked this question a lot, and we do work with a lot of older applicants as well. So, to be honest, to address that question, Deepak, you need to have a very strong answer for why MBA this late. If you know that you are able to convince the adcoms with that answer, you have sufficient reasons and sufficient evidences why were you not able to go for an MBA earlier, even though you've been thinking about it. Was there some personal situation that you were stuck in, or something professionally was coming across which was more promising than an MBA, so you of course had to choose one over the other? If you have a very strong answer for that, no business school is ever going to say no for you to apply. Also, one thing that we advise and we work with our older applicants when they are struggling with this question is you start reaching out to adcoms before starting the work on the application, to sort of start reading in between the lines whether they are old applicant friendly or not. There are a bunch of schools which are older applicant friendly, not all, but you have to personally reach out to them with your reason that why you want to really apply to that school for an MBA, and see what response are they coming to you with back with. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Kirtana, Pratibha, anything that you would like to add for early action?
Sure. I think from my person, yeah, Pratibha, please go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kirtana.
All right. So from my personal experience, especially in Fuqua, I know 4 Indians who have more than 10 plus years of experience, and all of them got admitted in early action. So to your question, and as Paradis mentioned, it really depends on the school. If there are certain schools which are really age agnostic, they really care about, is the applicant going to add value to my school. That's pretty much it they look for. It doesn't matter if you have 10 years of experience or 6 years of experience. Having said that, there are also a couple of schools who more lean towards younger applicants. So do your research and pick out the schools which you feel are the place where you want to be, and which are friendly towards people who have more than 10 years of experience.
Yeah, and if the schools that are friendly to older candidates offer an early action, the more reason to go for it, because it would only help you out in the entire application process.
Yeah. All right. One more question. What is the GMAT score that is considered competitive for Indian applicants at these B schools? Discuss Duke, Darden, CBS, etc. Yeah. Over to you girls.
Subjective question. So it depends on your profile. For the overrepresented candidates, you need to kick it up a notch, and probably as an Indian candidate, be above the average GMAT score of the school. And average GMAT score of the school is just one click away. You can just search through the school website, get to know that. And if you think that you are in that overrepresented pool, it's a good idea to be maybe 10 or 20 points above that. But if you are from a very very niche background which is fairly underrepresented, even after being an Indian candidate, if your industry or your some other element makes you underrepresented, then maybe being at the average or maybe 10 points below the average won't really affect your chances. So yeah, it's a subjective answer, and you would get to know that when you look through your profile elements very closely. Kirtana, anything or
No, I
Pallavi?
think I have nothing to add on this front, Pratibha. You've fairly summarized. It's completely subjective. Having said that, Indian pool of applicants is definitely competitive. So try to get your GMAT at least around the average of the school, and then maybe you can build up later on that. But I think that's the step one.
All right. Okay, there's one more question. Actually, yeah, let's tackle this one first. Do students have the power to negotiate? Because you two are the people to answer. Do you have the power to negotiate the scholarship, provided his or her profile is strong? Yeah, Kirtana, Pratibha, we'd
Yeah.
love to hear both of you on this. Yeah.
Absolutely, you can. You could also negotiate. Say, if you pull EA out of your element, say if you are admitted in round one, you could also use your other school offers to negotiate. It's as good as going to a shop and telling the shopkeeper that you have other offers. I'll go there if you don't give me a better offer. It happens. People do that. Having said that, if you have something really, I would say something that has upped your profile, like you got a promotion or you got some huge award, you could also mention that and ask and negotiate for a better scholarship. specifically with respect to EDA and wherever a binding decision is involved, you cannot use other schools' offer because for obvious reasons. But again, having said that, even during EA, if you're admitted, you could still go ahead and negotiate.
All right. That's yes. Pratibha, do you want to add something to
No,
that?
nothing more to add. I think she covered it all.
Cool. All right. There's one more by Sri Harsha. Is only undergrad GPA considered or the most recent masters as well? Um, yeah, you guys can take a shot at this first.
Yeah, so in your application, you'll be asked for both of these things. You would have to enter for sure your undergrad information, and if you have a master's degree, I have a master's degree as well. So I entered both of, but for me, the GPA was not different because I was in a 5 year course, which was integrated bachelor's plus master's. But yes, for people who have two different degrees, bachelor's and master's, and two different GPAs, I think both of your GPAs would be looked at, and the decision is made afterwards. So no one can really say which matters the most.
Yeah, thanks for that, Pratibha. Definitely, that's it's simple. So no, they don't say it just like GRE, GMAT. They don't. So whatever you have, you have to put their grades, and they don't have a criteria. They've not mentioned it anywhere. And this is a question that we get asked a lot. So it'll be interesting to hear it from applicants who have applied with percentage scores as well. My undergrad college gave the final score as percentage. How would I convert that into GPA?
You don't have to convert it, just submit as it is, because adcoms are aware that every school, every country, every community, they have their own set of grading scales. So when you're submitting your transcripts, they also ask you to submit your grading scales which are used by the schools. That pretty much it. There's no requirement to convert, and you don't have to pay to West Education or whichever the third party tool is. It's fine, submit whatever you have.
All right. Okay, one more. I'm a working professional from US. Can you help me figure out if part-time MBA is right for me or full-time MBA? So that's really I mean I'd say it depends on your aspirations. If you
Yes.
already have like a job and everything, you just want to like upskill yourself a little bit, you could go for a part-time one depending on the number of years of experience that you have. But I have a personal bias, and we can like definitely hear from Pratibha and Kirtan as well. I think there's nothing like a full-time immersive experience that you'll have in a full-time MBA. And you could also like try reaching out to people for who are doing full-time MBA and executive part-time MBA and have conversation with them to maybe conclude for yourself which one is the best fit for you, because some people want to have an immersive experience and part-time MBA will not give you that. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. That's a very valid point. And then there is a point of finances as well. So if you think that going for a 2 year MBA would incur a lot as an opportunity cost, then by all means you can go for a part-time MBA. But then keeping in mind the immersive experience that Varidhi is talking about, even I have a personal bias towards full-time MBA. But if I'm reading the name correct, Sri Harsha, taking a closer look at the other aspects of your profile and what your aspirations are, one can really help you understand whether the full-time or part-time MBA is right for you.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So, how did you? This is a question that I couldn't get. Maybe like you can help me decipher this. How did you ascertain the cost of attendance? What is the best way to derive what will be the cost?
It's
The
right there.
cost of it, yeah, I mean, the cost of attendance are typically posted on each school's portal. You could just simply go out and check out for whatever schools are you looking forward to apply. Having said that, schools which are in like primary cities like New York or California, the cost of attendance is typically higher because of living expenses. But schools which are in, I would say, towns or other tied to cities like Dartmouth or even Fuqua, the living expenses are a little low on the lower end. But if you want to figure out what is the exact cost of attendance, you can go out to the school portal and check out, and always add 5 to 10% over and about what they just shared, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Exactly. And just adding 5 to 10% to the cost of attendance makes a lot of sense, Kirtana, because there are a lot of immersive experiences which incur additional costs, like the trips that the MBA
Yep.
students take to have that, experiential learning. So, this was an advice that I was given by my interviewer, in fact. So, yeah, just rings that bell. Look at the cost of attendance from the school portal and maybe add 5 to 10%.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. We're just 1 minute. We just have a few seconds left, guys. And I know there are a bunch of questions. We'll tackle just one last. Actually, we're already up. So if you all have any more questions, feel free to book a session with us. We'd be happy to tackle, and you get like 45 minutes with us, so we can go further deep into your profile, understand your specific questions, your worries, your poems. But yeah, tonight was very, very insightful with Kirtana and Pratibha. Thanks a lot for this beautiful session. And thanks, guys, for joining us. For any further questions, I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, but we have to be running on different meetings after this. So feel free to book our call go to the website, click profile evaluation. You're just through, and we'd be happy to tackle your question. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Kirtana. Thanks, Pratibha.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
everything. Bye bye.
Bye.
Take care.